So the name of this panel actually was called False Starts, and the reason why I was so thrilled to have you both here is because I know you have a lot in common, the two of you. Actually, the three of us grew up in Queens, although I don't think we knew each other. But I also understand that the two of you, let's say, had a very colorful past. So what I want to do is start off with having you talk about your teen years. I know Jeff a little bit better. I can call you Jeff, right? Even though you've got all that brass on you.
That's me.
I remember one of the first stories you told me was that you were one of 4 boys, and that of the 4, the one that your mother worried most about was?
Me.
Okay.
Me.
Why?
Yeah. Good afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Besser, to my co-panelists here, Borough President Eric Adams. Like you said, Candace, I grew up in Queens. I went to Andrew Jackson High School. I was number 2 out of 4 boys, and I was attracted to the streets. I was hanging out. I wasn't really focused in school. I wasn't looking forward towards the college experience because I really just wanted to hang out instead of concentrating in school. Thank God for my mother. She kept me grounded. She kept me focused. When I did graduate high school, she basically dragged me by the ear to enroll in one of the local colleges, and from there, I started to get a little bit more focused. Not quite 100%. I stopped after a couple of semesters to become a police officer. And once I got into the police department, after a few years, and I realized I wanted to go further and I wanted to advance in the police department, couldn't do it without a college degree. You needed 2 years of college to make the first.
Well, we're going to come back to college, but I'm not going to let you off that easy about what your youth was like, because you kind of glanced past some of the trouble you got into. But before we come back to that, the Borough President, your story from your early years, would you say you worried your mother more or less than you think Jeff worried his?
Well, I think that Jeff's comments really fit the same. I was the second of 4 boys also. And I don't know if it's so much attractive to the streets as, in certain communities, some of the behavior and activity that you would do. It's just part of when you had well-groomed baseball fields in certain parts of Queens. In our part of Queens, you didn't have that. And so our fund was doing what one would consider to be juvenile delinquent behavior. And where in other parts of, as I learned when I got in policing, if you did some of those things, they would take you home to your mother. If we did in the South Jamaica, Queens, they would take you to the 103rd Precinct. So there was a different treatment that continues even till today. And so we were doing what we would consider having fun. I remember one thing that happened on Guy R. Brewer Boulevard. There was a shooting when we were children. And the next day, a group of my friends, we all went to the bar where the shooting took place, and we opened the door and we threw firecrackers in there, and so everybody thought it was shooting again. We ran and laughed. We thought we were just having fun. So it wasn't as though we were trying to be hurtful, but there were no alternatives. Those things that were in the street was all we had. That was our extracurriculum activity. And so I was arrested at 15 for criminal trespass, my brother and I. And it was a learning experience for me, because my mother, who was very quick with the belt, this time she didn't take out the belt. She just, she placed her hands on my shoulders, looked me straight in my eye, tried to lower my head. She raised my head up and she said, "Son, you're better than this." And that stayed with me throughout my entire life, that she just said, "You're better than this."
Now, Jeff, you mentioned also that your mom was part of what kind of got you on the straight and narrow. But before you get to that, I remember you telling me a story about the fact that one of your early role models before you got your head on straight was a drug dealer in the neighborhood.
Yes. It was a guy who lived on my block, and he was very popular in the neighborhood, and he always had the money and the cars and the flash, and it was attractive at that age, 14, 15 years old. I thought, oh yeah, this is the way to go. I could have a nice car, I could have this, I could have that. Thank God he was better than me, because he wouldn't even let me get involved in that. He would say, "This is not for you, you're better than this." So he actually, wouldn't even let me get involved in that. Not that I really wanted to, but I really just was attracted to it. And as I got a little older, towards the end of high school years and stuff, you know, when I say I was in the streets, it was really about finding the next party to go to and, you know, hanging out with girls and doing things like that. I wasn't really into like criminal behavior, but I was always into, hey, can I party tonight? Can I do this? I don't want to go to class. I just want to go hang out instead. Just have fun.
And that criminal piece, a night of going to a party and coming home safely or going and becoming arrested, it happens so fast in our community. You could just be out hanging out with your friends, and one of them could be carrying a gun. Everybody goes if you're in the car. One of them could be carrying drugs. Instead of him holding on himself, he'll throw it under the seat of the car. Everybody goes. It happens so quickly. And, you know, as Jeff was stating, there were days that, you know, we were just going out, you know, socializing or just going out to a party, and you just at the wrong place at the wrong time. And those quick encounters are just life-changing. And so many people that I grew up with, and I'm sure Jeff and I can say the same. A lot of folks that we grew up with just never made it. And really, the only reason he's standing here with 2 stars on his shoulders and my captain and borough president is because we ran faster than the cops. We would know better. You know, it was just that we ran faster. And I think that, you know, when we look at a lot of our young people and some of the mishaps they're going through, you know, we have to, if you do a close analysis and examination, our children are not bad children. They're not bad children. We have to give them the opportunities that they could become a chief of a department or borough president. I was a solid D student in school, but a whole lot of A students can't call themselves borough president.
That is true. That is true. And, you know, he's calling me doctor, but, you know, one of the things I like to tell people is that even though I have a lot of degrees, I also, in college, was a C student. I was not an A student. So it's never too late for you to make that turnaround. So let's talk about the turning points, because obviously, you know, when you were running faster than the police, at some point you ran into a turning point that put you on the path that brought you here. So what were the turning points for you?
For me, the turning point was when I was in high school, and one of my good friends in high school, I was noticing he was coming to school, you know, real clean, every week new clothes and stuff. And I was like, wait, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? Where are you getting all these new clothes from? And he said, I got a job at McDonald's. And I was like, that's it? And he was like, yeah, I got a job at McDonald's. And it was right before my 16th birthday. And I said, you know what? I want a job too. And I wound up finding a job at a restaurant that's not even in existence in New York anymore. And I was a busboy at the restaurant. And I just met a whole new group of friends who were they were very positive friends. We'd go to work on Fridays and Saturdays. And we'd still hang out. We'd still find that party, but it was after work. And once I had the job, you know, my mother was like, if you want a job, you have to do better in school. You have to become more focused. And that was the turning point for me, just finding a job where I made a little money, met a new group of friends, and it was just a positive, totally different vibe with those friends. We were just, they were a lot more positive, and we had a lot of good fun, but it was all balanced and based around working, doing better in school, and then having a good time.
Definitely being arrested. My close friend Henry Black, Henry was just a straight up troublemaker, you know, and I would just always be at the wrong spot with Henry. And we got arrested together with my younger brother, who should not have been arrested. He was just hanging out with Henry and I. And, you know, when my mother said, you know, hey, you know, Eric, you're better than this, that's just really impacted me, because my mother was, as Jeff was saying, my mother was just a pillar of strength, third grade education, was able to, you know, take us out of a rat-infested tenement in Brooklyn and move to a house in Queens. And, you know, just the life that she provided for us, I just really felt as though, you know, I put her in that situation where she had to come to the 103rd precinct and the cops laughing at her clothing and, you know, just the way they treated her. You know, I put her in that position. And I made a commitment, you know, I told her I would never do that again. And I remember when I got promoted captain in the police department and sitting down looking at her, and she saw me go from breaking the law to enforcing the law and then going to Albany to write the law. You know, I was just paying her back for what she has done for me and my 5 brothers and sisters. But that was my turning point.
All right, So we have to talk about law enforcement and black males, but before we do that, I just want to make sure we talk a little bit about the role that education played in this transition that you made.
Well, for me, when I initially went to college, I stopped because I wanted to go into the police department. So I went into the police department. After about 2 or 3 years, I wanted to advance in the police department and pass promotional tests. But in order to gain promotions, you need college credits, at least 60 college credits to become a sergeant. Now you need 60 college credits to go into the police department. When back when I came on and when the borough president came on, you didn't need a college education. So I went back to college. I was working full-time. I was going to school part-time. And it was a better experience for me because I knew I wanted to advance in the police department, so I was more focused with my education. I was a straight A student the second go-around, not the first time, the second go-around. And also when I was paying for it versus my parents paying for it, that was a wake-up call too, when I had to spend my money every 6 months, every semester. And once I went to school local. I went to John Jay College. It's a law enforcement school, a premier law enforcement school in the country. And I was able to network with other police officers, former police officers. A lot of the professors were former police officers, former high-ranking officers, and they served as mentors. A lot of times I was able to talk to them about some of my experiences on my day-to-day, when I was walking the beat out there on a day-to-day, and they was able to provide some of their experiences, which made me a better police officer, learn how to handle myself better, learn how to deal with the public and the community better. So going to John Jay while I was a police officer, having something to actually tie my education to, real experience to tie my education to, really helped me.
Same. I went from, graduating from Base High School, taking remedial courses, going to New York City College of Technology, getting my associates, then John Jay for my bachelor's, and then Marist College for my master's. I went from that solid D student to a solid A student. When I stopped trying to be slick and started to be astute, the game just changed, and then education was no longer a requirement. I was finding something through education, and I realized the power of education, and so I was addicted to reading new books, finding new places to go, and just really experience the entire intellectual part of life. And so education is not about just sitting there and getting a degree that you can hang on your wall, because that's just a training. Education is when you experience life. How do you take that degree and explore life? I would sit down in New York City College of Technology and meet children from Vietnam, and then I would travel over the summer to Vietnam and go visit their country, or go to Greece, or go to Lebanon because I met someone from Lebanese. So it's about matching what you read in the books to what you're going to live your life like. And I think that education was an amazing transformation for me. It made me just a better human being, and I began to like myself because of what I was learning in education. And it's difficult for our young people who are in Central Brooklyn, but 70% of them are not reading or writing at math level. You can't like yourself if you're not receiving some form of educational accomplishment to explore yourself, and that's why it's a big fight. Educating our children is more than so they can get a good job. It's so they can have a good qualitative perspective of themselves.
So, I cannot let you all go without having this conversation about the relationship between black males and law enforcement, because, I don't think there's anyone now who needs to be reminded of what's going on. So I want to get your perspective, but particularly because you're in the unique position of both having been in law enforcement, but you're also black males. So when you hear that the majority of black males don't trust the police, what does that, bring to your mind, and, what is your response to that?
Well, when I hear about that perspective that black males don't trust the police, I really don't have an issue with that. Most people, when you meet someone, you don't trust them until you get to know them. And I have to really look at these young men over here. You don't have to trust me because I'm a police officer. What I would ask you to do is just respect me the same way I'm supposed to respect you. And as we get to talk and we get to learn about each other, or maybe I have an opportunity to help you, or you might have an opportunity to help me, then we'll start establishing trust. Then we'll start building trust that way.
But if they're feeling that you're not respecting them, and by you I mean if the belief is, well, the police don't respect us, you know, what's the response to that? What do you say to a black male who says, I don't have to be respectful to the police because they don't respect us? That's what's being tweeted. So what do you say to that?
Right. My response to that is, you always treat people how you want to be treated. So you may feel that the police don't respect you. You may feel any particular person or particular group don't respect you. You still show respect first. You always show respect first, because a lot of times when you show respect first, then you're gonna gain that respect right back. I mean, I'm probably old enough to be your father, but I would still come to you and say, young man, sir. I would always approach you with respect, because I want to immediately get your respect back. And I understand that as a police officer. So my role is to come and initiate and be a leader and show you that respect so you can give it back to me. That's what you have to do out there too, with your classmates, with your teachers, with students who are younger than you, with police officers, with borough presidents. You always show that respect first, because when you show it first, you'll get it back. And if you don't get it back, then you understand what you're dealing with, and you could be, you know, still respectful, but understand I might have to take a step back and handle this situation differently. But always show respect first. As the borough commander, I tell my police officers to respect the community. As your borough commander, I tell you the same thing: respect your police officers. And that's where it's going to start, by everybody looking at themselves, pointing the finger at themselves, and showing respect and giving respect.
Now, Borough President, you sort of stand in the middle between the community and law enforcement. So what do you see as necessary to rebuild the relationship that the black community has with law enforcement?
I think it's a combination of things, and I'm big on this term called emotional intelligence, and it's coming from where Chief Maddrey is coming from, and it's not taught anywhere. We do not teach emotional intelligence in our school, and really we did not teach it in our law enforcement agencies until now. We are starting the process of teaching emotional intelligence. How do you respond in the heat of the moment? How do you treat people, and how do you expect people to treat you? And so we can't just look at the police department in addressing this problem. It's not a comfortable conversation that when you're taking a human being who has a perception of you based on what you see on TV or reading the newspaper, or if you're in a vehicle doing patrol and you hear only negative things all the time about the community, that officer is going to have a negative impression of that community. So the ideal situation for me is that I don't want a police officer on my block. Let me handle my own block. If I'm doing my job as a man and making sure that there's no drugs being sold on my corner, making sure that nobody is carrying guns on my corner, making sure that the women of my community to get home safe, I don't even have to worry about the police. But if I'm living in a community where I'm walking past people slinging drugs, I'm getting gunshots every day. We were just talking about shooting in 7-9. 2 people shot last night. If I live in the cesspool of violence and I'm silent about it, those who don't know me is going to perceive me as though you're not deserving of anything. I always talk about the story, this rookie cop, when I was a lieutenant. He came into Ingersoll housing, and there was urine in the elevator, and he said, you see, all these people deserve nothing. I said, listen, man, one person pissed in the elevator. Everybody in this building is upset about that. And so when you have police departments that police communities based on the numerical minority that are committing criminal actions, that's a bad recipe. And that's what I spoke with the mayor about. Our police officers can no longer just stand on the corner and watch people walk by. We have to be engaging. We have to say good morning. We have to say hello. We have to talk about, we have a municipal ID program taking place in the city. Hey, are you aware of this municipal ID? If the only time you meet someone is if they're telling you you can't stand here, I'm giving you a summons, or you're in the middle of a fight, you're going to have a negative perception of them. We have to be proactive about how do we engage. I walk by police officers sometimes and I say good morning. They look scared. It's all right to say good morning. Just as it's all right for a police officer to say good morning to you, it's all right for the public to say good morning to that police officer. We have to build the synergy. I want cops in my community. I want to live in a safe community. I don't want to live in a community that any and everything goes. I want police officers there. I want them to be respectful, and I'm going to be respectful to them. I want to be emotionally intelligent to them, and I want them to be emotionally intelligent to me.
So we have some young men here, probably tired of being talked at. So what I'd like to do is just give you guys, and the two of you gentlemen, in the time we have left, what advice would you give to the young men here, to the young men that are watching, about how to take charge of their futures so that they're not victims, but that they're victors in the choices that they make in life?
Dr. Best, I think your form right here is a great start for them, you know. Education, real men graduate. How do you make yourself better? You have to think about this every day. When I was in the police department, I already had my 4-year degree. I wanted more, and I went back to graduate school almost 8 years after I already had my 4-year degree because I wanted to be better. You should always have a plan for your life. You should always have a plan for self-improvement, just to think, how can I become better? What do I want to do? How am I going to follow my dreams? And how am I going to make everything a reality? These are the things that you have to think about all the time. I went into the police department at a very young age. I mean, I was 20 years old when I went to the police department. I didn't realize the opportunities that I would have in the police department, and I went pretty high up as far as the hierarchy and the rank structure is concerned. And you know, I'm proud of myself. I'm happy with what I achieved, and it was because I wanted more for myself, and I kept studying, passing tests. There's a lot of opportunities in the police department. You look at our borough president right here, who went to the police department, who was a senator, and our current borough president. There's a lot of opportunities here, but it's not about the police department. It's about you, your education, and your choices. You just have to think on them, pray on them every day, and constantly build yourself, find a way to self-improve, and you'll get whatever you want in life.
Borough President, we're just about out of time, but I want to give you the final word on that.
No, and I think that very well said by Chief Maddrey, and he's not pretty high up, he is high up. You know, to be the commanding officer of Brooklyn North says a lot. Brooklyn, the largest borough with 2.6 million people. It's perseverance. There are good days, there are bad days. You know, there are days that I wish I didn't get out of bed, and there are days that I wish I got out of bed. You know, it's about just really perseverance. None of this is just instant and smooth. It's a lot of dedication, a lot of commitments, what you have to do to get at these levels. You already have it inside you in a very natural way, and it's about bringing all those things together. A degree doesn't make a man makes a degree. A job doesn't make a man makes the job. Being borough president is not going to make me if I don't come with the character that it needs to be, who I ought to be the borough president in this capacity, in this time. And you're in the right place. The mere fact that you're here is saying I want to listen, and I want to learn, and I want to move forward. I wish I would have spent time at a place like this when I was growing up. I would be the mayor already and don't have to wait 7 years, you know. But just stay committed, be dedicated, and be true to yourself. Be bold, be unafraid, be true, be you.
Thank you so much.